Hi, I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Welcome to a new episode of Thrive. Today, I'm at Finch's, an American brasserie, and I'm ready to have a great conversation with Finch's owner, Candace Finch. Check it out. So, Candace Finch, I'm so honored and delighted that you're with me today on Thrive, and I want to share with the audience you are the owner of Finch's, an American brasserie in Bloomington, Indiana, which is one of my all-time favorite restaurants. I should work for you because I'm a frequent flyer, but I'd love for you to tell the audience the story because you originally came from Vermont to open this extraordinary restaurant in Bloomington. Big shift, Northeast to the Midwest. Tell the story.
Sure. I was working in Montpelier, Vermont for friends of mine, helping them run their restaurant. And I worked in that restaurant for 11 and a half years.
Wow.
And one day, an older man walked in the door, all decked out in red and white, and we struck up a conversation about our wood-fired oven.
Yes.
And he is a graduate of the Indiana University Kelley School of Business.
That's the connection. Okay.
That's the connection.
Yeah.
So we became friends. He found out I was a designer and my partner was a chef. So he romanced us to move to Bloomington.
Wow. And has it been a good move?
It has been a good move.
Wow.
It has been. We've lived here now 10 years and we've been running a restaurant in this space for 9.
So let's segue for that. You are a Renaissance woman. You do a little bit of everything. You have a background in architectural design. You're a businesswoman. You're a founder, owner of this restaurant. You yourself are a phenomenal chef and cook. You're training to be a sommelier. I know you've passed the Court of Master Sommelier Level 1, correct?
Yes.
So you do it all. How did this all come to happen?
Honestly, it was a dream.
Okay.
And we were given an opportunity, a really lovely opportunity, and it unfolded naturally. And when you own your own restaurant, you have to be good at a lot of different things. You have to be good at graphic design, you have to be good at presentation, you have to be good at service and etiquette, you have to be able to serve good food.
Right, right.
So the chef, Jeff Finch, and we're a good team that way. I think he's one of the most talented chefs I've ever known. And I have an art and design background. So together we put together, I think, a beautiful product.
Oh, I agree. Let's talk a little bit. I think it's so important for women and men to have mentors and sponsors and champions in their lives. And you were sharing with me earlier that you had some very special women in your professional world who helped you develop. Tell me about that.
Sure. My first restaurant job when I was 16 was for our local restaurant. It was called the August Lion, and Rin and Steve Vargo ran that restaurant. And Rin Vargo more or less became my second mother.
Yeah.
And she not only taught me etiquette and how to serve customers gracefully, but she took care of me also. And she was a great mentor. And then as I graduated from college and started my own business, I also ran the restaurant in Vermont for 2 of my friends, Carol Paquette and Dorothy, oops, I'm gonna forget Dorothy.
That's okay. Dorothy, we love you. We'll send you the video. It's all good.
Dorothy Korshak.
Okay.
And they were not only fabulous businesswomen, but fun, and they just understood their clientele, and we had a great time. We ran a very successful restaurant.
How do you have a life in addition to this vibrant career?
The good news is I get to throw a party every night, and people come
That's
and
true.
have a good time.
That's true.
And I get to talk about things that I like, and I've met some amazing people. So the party comes to me in many ways. But there are long hours. There's someone in this building from 7:30 in the morning until 1 o'clock at night, and that's something that has to be monitored. And as the face of the restaurant, people want to see you at lunch, and they want to see you during dinner hours.
You're part of the brand, right?
Part of the brand.
And having that FaceTime and that visibility with them is essential. Okay, so let's just talk woman to woman. What do you do for you? Because you're so fit and you're this amazing chef as well. I know you've got to be doing something for you. You look vibrant. You don't look exhausted. So you're doing something
well,
right.
Thank you very much. I run.
Okay.
And I do yoga. And I find that those two, they're opposite ends of the spectrum. Because the running really helps me to clear my mind and keeps me fit, because when you're around food all the time,
Yeah.
it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose that. But the running is really more for mental clarity, and the yoga is for relaxation.
That's great.
So I do try to take as good a care of myself as I can. So this time of year I don't run as much. I run around here.
Yeah. Do you love that energy though? I can see that excitement, you know, you're sparkling. So obviously that is part of what makes you happy.
It is. It's really fun. Owning a restaurant is a lot of hard work because you do have to wear a lot of hats. I have to understand the financials. I have to be good at marketing. I have to be able to mentor my kids, and a lot of them are in their 20s.
Right, and by that you mean your staff,
My
right?
staff,
Right.
yes.
So you've got a lot of kids, and I
have
get
a lot of
that.
kids.
Like
I do.
you,
I
I don't
do.
have my own children, but there are people with whom I work that are my children.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I want them to have rich lives and learn as much as they can. So I do think about them as my kids.
Let's talk a little bit about the farm to table philosophy, which was relatively new in our community when you hit Bloomington a decade ago. And I think that's such an important thing, not only for the economic sustainability and viability, but the health and wellness of our community. So I'd love to hear your take on that.
Well, it's one that's close to my heart. My family always had a garden. My grandmother, who is now 99 years old.
99, you've got good genes.
She's amazing
Wow.
too. She's amazing. She's really the one that started introducing me to organic food and knowing where your food came from. This is back in the late 70s, early 80s. So it's just something that I grew up with, and I'm grateful for that. Also on the East Coast and the West Coast, the slow food movement is something that is embraced.
Yeah.
And when we first moved to the Midwest, it was just something that was starting
Just
to be
percolating.
introduced.
Yeah.
And that was actually one of the hardest things about opening the restaurant here,
Yeah.
was the conversation that I had to have about why we're doing what we're doing. While it was fascinating and I loved educating, it was also a foundation that I needed to build on and
Because
grow.
you need to teach the audience, and by
do.
that, the patrons, right? The customers. Wow.
As well as the employees.
Right. Can you
the
define
philosophy.
the slow food movement just
Sure
for
can.
our listeners who might not be familiar with the term?
Sure. It started in the late 70s in Italy. They were going to build a McDonald's at the base of the Spanish Steps.
Oh,
And a group of...
sacrilege.
Sacrilege. So a group of townspeople got together and basically threw pasta at the organizers and
I love the
said...
Italians. Good stuff.
And they did not build the McDonald's. So that gentleman was empowered and decided to create a movement, the slow food movement. Alice Waters in San Francisco, who is a very famous chef,
Yes.
she brought the slow food movement to American soil. That was in the early 80s.
Okay.
So it slowly grew, and if you think about it, the early 80s, that was only 30 years ago.
Right.
And now,
Right.
what we're doing with knowing where our food comes from and no GMOs, and it's improving how we eat. So the slow food movement is a rebuttal to the fast food movement. It's knowing where your food comes from, knowing how the animals are taken care of, no pesticides, obviously, growing organically, but it's also a lifestyle. It's dining. It's supporting etiquette and dining and having a conversation.
Savoring your food, right?
Exactly.
And really enjoying it with all five senses.
Absolutely, and understanding what wine is paired with food, and so it's a culture, and it's really in support of having people enjoy and break bread and have conversation over
And
food.
you know what I love about that? We're in such a fast-paced, technology-driven society, and I love technology, don't get me wrong, but isn't it wonderful to have a meal and focus on the food and smell the food and embrace the food and the conversation and the company that you're keeping,
Absolutely.
and have that be a visceral experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while in our world today is a fast-moving world, we try to comply with both.
Right.
We want to give a beautiful product quickly as we can,
Right.
and have people enjoy it while supporting slow food. Everything that we make in this restaurant is made in-house, from the salad dressing to the ice cream. We only buy a few things from local people that's pre-made, and that's also part of the slow food movement.
Okay, so fun question, total different point of departure. So you're a great cook yourself. You are a foodie at heart, and now a soon-to-be certified sommelier in progress. Do you go home and make peanut butter and jelly because you're just exhausted, or do you whip up something extraordinary after a really long and amazing day and night at the restaurant?
I appreciate a good peanut butter and jelly. I do. Actually, what I really like to have when I go home at the end of the day is a BLT.
Okay.
With really crispy bacon.
Bring it on.
And a fried egg.
Okay, good, good. I love it. I love it.
That's what I make at midnight.
The movie Spanglish,
exactly.
Right?
With that scene in the movie,
yeah,
I knew
it's classic.
Someone helped them.
Those were your people.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about where the restaurant is going, because you have such vision, and I thank you for sharing, you know, what it started as and how it began to thrive, but you've got a vision for where it's going. So tell me a little bit about that.
Sure.
Give me a glimpse.
Sure. Well, in Bloomington, when I first moved here, I noticed that most of the restaurants, and the nicer restaurants even, catered more towards the sporting community.
Sports bar, right? We're a college town.
Yeah,
right.
Lots of big screen TVs, and it's festive and fun, but Vermont doesn't have, sporting teams, so I wasn't as exposed to that. So what I do know is the arts and music, theater, dance.
You're my kind of woman.
So we decided to build that into our mission statement. So we have aligned with the Indiana University Auditorium. We're in their circle of friends, so we do a lot of the catering for the donors. We've also recently contracted with Cardinal Stage Company, and we're doing...
Another company after my own heart. Good stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
And we offer a theater menu, which is a prefix 3-course menu with wine, and they come in before the show, enjoy the food, and then they can get to the show in a timely manner. So it's based on the philosophy of the theater district in Boston or Chicago.
Love it, love it. And a great indication of how it's not just about being a standalone restaurant. You've got to be part of the fabric of this community. So how did that develop? Because that's a very particular skill set.
It is, and I have to say that Bloomington embraced us first.
That's great.
When they heard what we were trying to accomplish, they were interested in partnering with us. So I moved to Bloomington, Indiana in 2006, and I knew not one person here. And my measure of success was how well I could build a community of people that I was familiar with from Vermont. Every night I threw a party, I knew everybody that was there.
Yeah.
And I feel very successful in doing that. And part of the success is getting to know the local arts community. IU Auditorium, Cardinal Stage Company, the Buskirk Chumley, and now the Ryder Film Series. So in growing those relationships, Bloomington embraced us as much as we reached out to them, and it's been a really wonderful relationship. I'm very happy to be here.
It sounds to me, Candace, that you are a risk taker, that you are willing to try something new and maybe be a little disruptive in how you approach whatever. So is that accurate?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not scared to try.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's really not that hard to reach out and build something.
Right.
And you just have to listen to people. They tell you what they need.
That's true.
And they tell you what they're looking for.
So you've got to be responsive. You've got to be nimble as a businesswoman in this community, and I think anywhere, to be successful.
Absolutely.
Candace, let's talk about challenges, because seemingly the listener would say, wow, she's got it all together, everything's perfect, she, is this gorgeous, successful woman who is just firing in all cylinders. And yes, you are, and there's also a reality behind the scenes of probably a little craziness and, oh my gosh, a lot's happening. So what are your challenges on a daily basis, just to let us into the real life of Candace Finch?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge is finding enough time. It's really important to me that I invest in each one of my employees and my friends, and it's really hard to find time to build on those relationships.
To feed the life side.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
This is actually really true. I have a hard time finding time to eat. I own a restaurant, and it's sometimes hard to eat. So for me, when I actually sit down at the table and enjoy a meal, it's a pleasure and it's a privilege, and it's one that I don't take for granted.
I believe that, because you probably don't want to dishonor the food by eating on the fly.
Exactly.
You want to actually sit down and enjoy the meal.
Exactly.
Wow.
But it's hard. There's long hours. There's someone in the building from 7:30 in the morning until 1 o'clock at night.
That's a hell of a day.
It's a long day, and being on your feet and running around, and we have two floors.
Yes.
So, the challenge is really feeling like I can give everybody what they need so that they can feel rewarded and get their job done and walk out the door and be happy at the end of the night. It's fun. I mean, the palette of materials that I get to work with and the people that I get to work with, it's amazing. It really does make for a rich life. Granted, the rich life happens in these four walls, many hours a day, but I'm lucky because I have met some amazing people and they come here and spend time with me here.
Candace, I have a personal philosophy that every woman should give herself permission to define success on her own terms. So how do you define success in your life and career?
That's a great question because it is an individual achievement, something that you decide for yourself and build upon.
Right.
For me, moving into a town I knew no one, building friendships, building relationships, business and personal, that's success. But within this restaurant, what is successful for me is to educate, to bring students that may have only had corporate experience in the restaurant world, to have them understand where their food comes from, to teach them about wine, to teach them about etiquette, to teach them cooking philosophies.
Yeah.
We a lot of times they're in the kitchen watching us as we cook, and they're learning as they go. So that's a success for me. This restaurant, when we first purchased it and turned it into Finch's, it was a challenge financially. I had to learn how to make a viable farm-to-table restaurant, a profitable restaurant. So that is a success for me. But truthfully, the biggest success that I have here is the clientele and my employees, watching them grow and explore and learn and have everything that they need to be able to not only do this job, but to feel good about it and to be proud of where they work.
So you really are a coach and a mentor in your own right, helping those who work for you. So let's turn the table a little bit, and I want you to be the career coach. What advice would you give to women who are watching, who are aspiring business owners, and particularly those interested in the restaurant industry?
Sure. The biggest advice I have is to take a deep breath, because it takes a lot of energy and it takes strength and a vision, and you have to hold true to that. And every day is a new day, and you are going to have hard days. There are going to be days when nothing comes out of the kitchen in a timely manner, and you have an employee that has to leave, and this is not like an office job. When someone leaves the floor, you know, the show must go on.
Yes.
So perseverance and holding true to your philosophy on your food and your service style, and making sure that your customers are treated the way you think that they should be treated. It's a lot of hard work, and it's also one of the most rewarding things that you can do, because at the end of the day, you're taking care of people.
Yeah, so you're nurturing in every sense of the word. I also love, thank you for giving everyone permission to say, every day is a clean slate, right? So start each new day fresh, new opportunity to succeed. So you have a wonderful new brand, Finch's, an American brasserie.
Yes.
So tell us about that, because some people might not be familiar with the brasserie concept.
What a brasserie is. A brasserie is specific to Belgium. They would have brewed their own beer, had a formalized menu that was printed, different than a bistro. A bistro might have a chalkboard out on a sidewalk. They would say today's specials. It would be a limited menu. But a brasserie was just a little step above that, with cloth napkins and high quality, simple food. So croque monsieur, which is, you know, a delicious, basically grilled cheese sandwich.
Love it.
So it's beautiful food, handled well, with traditional cooking methods executed well. That's really what the food is in a brasserie. There's always things that you'll find on a brasserie. A burger, a hanger steak.
Those are the staples, right?
The staples. Usually moules or mussels, steamed mussels with hand-cut frites. You'll always find chocolate pot de creme. That's a staple.
I'm salivating. Okay, keep going, keep going.
So from the food angle, that is what a brasserie is. It's traditional French food prepared well. But the fact that a brasserie also would have brewed their own beer, that's a really interesting thing. So there's brasseries all over Belgium and France, and they all brew a different style of beer, farmhouse or ales or whatever it might be, saisons. Yeah. And we can't do that here. We don't have a large enough footprint to have a brewery, so we have an eclectic wine and beer menu.
Let's talk about that, because you, again, are going through your sommelier training, and you've passed level 1 of the Court of Master Sommelier training, which is intense.
It is.
Very intense. So bravo. I know this has been a multi-year progression, but tell us about the wine at Finch's, because it's so special and so unique, and I want the audience to learn about this.
Sure. Thank you for letting me talk about it, because I love to talk about wine.
Yeah, and we'll drink some soon.
Yes. Well, on our wine list, because we are a brasserie, and most of our food has the flavor of Italian food, French food, Spanish food. I have an old world palate. I enjoy...
An old world palate. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
I prefer it. And I enjoy the winemaking philosophy and the history, the climate, the culture. It just speaks volumes. So our wine list, I search out boutique wines that you don't find everywhere.
Yes, which I love, because this is not walk into your retail liquor store. This is estate boutique wine.
Yes, I try to find single vineyards. I try to find grower champagnes and things that you'll never be exposed to. Right. And there's two ways to look at that. You're exposed to something new that you've never tried before, a grape varietal or a process. And also, it lets us expose smaller vineyards to
again,
everybody in Bloomington.
Part of the economic sustainability model too. You're boosting those smaller wineries.
Exactly, exactly. And the product, I think, is better in many ways. And they have the same philosophy that I do. I work just as hard as everybody else in the restaurant, as do they.
Right.
So
I love this whole concept of paying it forward to those who are raising the food, right, and producing the food and creating the wine. So you're part of this incredible economic circle of sustainability, and that's an amazing responsibility when you think about it. It's
a choice. It really is, because there's many restaurants that understand the financial aspect of owning a restaurant. It's very, very expensive. Every little thing you touch, the glassware, the silverware, I mean, it all adds up, and it takes a lot of things to make a restaurant beautiful and run well. So if we were to just look at the financial aspect of having a restaurant, it would be easy to make choices on food. But
there's so much more.
There's so much more involved. I wouldn't be able to own a restaurant if we didn't comply with the slow food philosophy, because I really do. I live that lifestyle. I know where my food comes from. I buy local. It's important to me. And so many of the wineries in Europe, it's important to them too. They can't use pesticides. They grow sustainably. So we support one another in that philosophy. So the wines that you see on our list are primarily organic wineries.
Yeah, and they're delicious, I can tell you, as someone who frequents Finch's quite a bit.
Thank you.
So let's talk. I want to leave before we take a tour of the restaurant and look at some great food and see it, poetry in motion, people enjoying the great restaurant. What's the one bit of wisdom that you want to share with the women who are watching? What will motivate and inspire them from the lessons you've learned throughout your career?
To understand that the restaurant industry is hard, but it's also a gift. Every day you get to show up to work and you throw a party. You get to be around people who want to join in on the party. There's conversation, there's beautiful food, there's excellent service, and it's hard. So perseverance, to stay true to your focus and believe that you can create a beautiful thing. And to work just as hard as everybody else.
That is great. Candace Finch, you are a gift too, my dear.
Oh,
cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
Thank you. Thank you.